Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and I'm joined by Josh Guest for his weekly segment on all things Ole Miss. He lives in the Oxford area. He knows what's going on around town, and he is kind of the Locked On Ole Miss finger on the pulse, so to speak, of what's going on. How you doing, Josh?
Doing well, Stephen. I look like I'm bundled up like I'm in the Arctic here, but we started about 15 to 20 degrees warmer this morning. And, of course, the air was on in here in my office. And the air does not need to be on now because it's in the upper 40s as we sit here this afternoon. And, man, I opened the door to go outside, and I was like, what happened? So a little chilly all of a sudden.
Yeah, just so everybody knows what's going on, Ole Miss has Missouri State coming up. This game will already have happened by the time you've seen it, but that kind of lets you know that an afternoon game against Missouri State, it might have gotten brisk. And we all talk about warm weather wakes the bats up. I am worried that it'll be a little bit harder offensively because of the cold weather.
Yeah, it was really good to see. So, I've already alluded to this many times with, my son playing high school ball and Northwest having their season started and Ole Miss. And I got to go to my first game, and my first game was the 25-2 game that Ole Miss won the second day their bats woke up. And I don't remember all the records that were broken or tied that day, but one of the records that was set was Ole Miss had the home run cycle in the first inning with a solo shot, a 2-run shot, a 3-run shot, and a grand slam, all in the first inning. And so that was something that Bianco alluded to on the radio afterwards. And they went through this. It was a litany of records that were either broken that day or tied. So to say that Ole Miss unleashed the beast the last two games against High Point is not understating it at all or overstating it. So it was good to see. And then, of course, at the time of this recording, they'd have won a midweek game. The runs they gave up, I think it was 11-6, maybe it was maybe a little too much to give up, but that's okay. You got it. This is early season. It's non-conference. You won the game. And so you want to get some arms in games and see how these younger guys and new guys react, not only in the field, not only at the plate, but on the mound. And so good to see another win. And hopefully Ole Miss baseball has turned a corner. I know some people panicked early, but as you have stated, as I said last week, it's not time to panic yet because we've already seen if you get in, you have a chance. And we are still not to the point where we can't get in because of what we've done. Yeah, it hasn't been pretty, and we've been, pretty much a train wreck for a few games. But that's okay. That's okay. It's early in the season. A lot of new guys, new faces. Got a chance to turn this around. Now, if we're 1-9 in the first 10 SEC games, now we can panic. But right now we're not there. Everybody just hold your horses. Let's see what happens.
For the first time since the powder blue uniforms were released, Ole Miss is releasing a new uniform set into their rotation. It's a cream uniform with just a navy blue Rebels across the front with a red number. The hat is a script M number, which is the navy blue hat, much like this, with just a red M that looks absolutely fantastic. What do you think?
My first thought was Field of Dreams. You just classic baseball uniform is what was my first thought. So I love it. I mean, again, being a baseball guy, just it kind of even has a little bit, in my opinion, of nostalgia with that vintage. Is that a good word I can use here? Mm-hmm. Vintage look. So I think it does look good, and I think the navy really pops. I'm as you can tell, I'm a powder blue guy, but boy, I think the navy really pops off that cream and looks really, really good. So excited about that, and think that the Rebels are going to look good when they get those and are able to sport them on the field.
Yeah, and the numbers are very Dodgers-like with the red numbers below the script. It looks really good. Now, I would have liked to have seen this maybe with a navy blue numeral, just go navy blue and white, but I understand why they wanted some red on there. It looks really good. I mean, it tells me, I don't think we're going to see the pinstripes again this year. I think those are after they get put away, they're put away. I think that Friday night is going to be the cream night. I think Saturday will be the red jerseys, and Sunday will be the powder blues, and then the midweek game will be the navy blue jerseys.
I like it. And look, I still look, I like the cream look. I like the classic look. I still think the powder blues are the best looking uniforms in all of sports. And I don't know that you're going to deter me from thinking that way or whatnot until my time has come and I have expired. So I love those uniforms. They are great. And I like the cream ones that came out. So
Yeah.
and I think it's cool. I mean, we haven't had as much change. I mean, the powder blues were a big deal in baseball when they came out because it was a change. And so this is another new thing in baseball, which hasn't been quite as adventurous as some of the other sports in the recent times.
Yeah, and let's just be real about something. We can have this conversation. I am so glad the grays are not a part of the uniforms anymore. Ole Miss, there was no need for them to have grays because of that powder blue. That has been established as an acceptable alternative to the grays. And with Ole Miss having both, it becomes like an, I don't know, redundant thing to have a gray uniform.
Yeah, and a lot of these things are built off a light and a dark options and those kind of things. And you're right. I mean, it's like having the same thing over again. And gray is too universal. I don't know. It had its place for its time, but now that we have the powder blues, I agree. Let's go with that and roll with it and see what we can do. And I'm excited for even possible combinations and things they could do and looks they can go for in all the sports.
Yeah, and the one uniform that I would like to see Ole Miss do next, baseball-wise, I want a white uniform that is very Detroit Tigers looking, okay, with the piping along the sides there and all of that, and just a red or navy blue on the chest. That's it. Just that is the last uniform, and I think the last thing that Ole Miss would need is the jersey with a Tigers templated uniform would be an excellent alternative to the cream uniform. And you could wear that maybe on some midweeks and some things like that. I think that would look really good.
Well, I'm a big fan of piping. I have a lot of shirts myself that have piping on them. That's a different color. And I always think you can just add a little bit of, pizzazz and pop to something by that piping being a different color. And of course, with a uniform, a navy or a red or something that goes with it, with that, or, navy piping, red, like you said, whatever, would be a nice, classy look too as well.
Yeah. Spring football is on deck for Ole Miss. I think it's going to start right after spring break, which is about 2 weeks away, if I'm not mistaken. I mean,
yeah, we have this week and next week, and we are out for spring break. That's right.
And when they come back, it's going to be all spring football all the time. One of the rumors that I saw on Twitter, and I can't verify one way or another that it could happen, but it's something that I'm talking to people about it because it's an interesting idea, and I don't know if I like it, but it's an interesting idea. And that is making the Grove Bowl into a Pro Bowl games type situation. And I don't know that I like that, Josh. I don't.
I'm not sold on it either. I understand you want to protect players and you want to do all these things. You don't want to put stuff on tape and film and everything else. And you have all these reasons for doing things, but how many times do we see, and we don't have to go back very far, the Super Bowl on the sideline, the linebacker for the 49ers celebrating a play that his teammates are making.
Oh, he's just running on the field. It was a change of possession.
Yeah, and so a non-sports related injury, and so that's what scares me about something like that, where the guys are out there and they're competitive already, but you're going to do some other competition, whether it's Caden Priestcorn wins the cornhole competition at the Grove Bowl, and I'm being a little facetious and funny there, but if it's some other thing, a skills challenge, whatever, that differs from what they're used to, I just it worries me a little bit. But you are trying to protect them. I get it. You're not trying to put stuff on film, but I think I even heard you talking to somebody talking about you want to see Kedrick Reesano run the ball. against live people. Yes, I do too. And so I want to see Austin Simmons throw the football. That's what I want to see. And Walker Howard too. But I watched Simmons tape. I was actually looking for baseball film and couldn't find it. And it may just be I don't know how to look, but I found a lot of him throwing the football, and wow is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's impressive. It really is, and it's interesting. Football players play football. That's the way this is. Whenever you get too risk adverse, I think we're in danger in our society of creating a bunch of Roger Dorns. That is where the society is going, to where, oh, I'm not going to die for that ball and risk losing my sight. And football players play football, baseball players play baseball, and if you truly like it, if you truly love the game, I don't think that you become this risk adverse person. And I don't think that we need to make a Grove Bowl, even though it's a spring game and it's absolutely meaningless. I don't think you should make it to where you're risk adverse. I'm not saying go out there like 1967 Wobble Davidson stuff and go out there and just knock the heck out of each other. I'm not saying that either. I'm saying you can't go in there thinking I don't want to get hurt, because if you're thinking I don't want to get hurt, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah, I agree. I agree too. And again, like you said, you don't have to go full pads and all out and everything else, and have your game records on defense, wrecking your offense and that kind of thing. But you could make it kind of like football, maybe.
Yeah, last year was perfect for me, where you just made it to where the film was useless because they were 2 or 3 vanilla defenses is all that was being called. And the offense was just going up and down the field like it was on air. The film was basically useless. It was an entertaining product for the fans. You just have to make sure the fans understand that the defense is going to be an issue today because they're not allowed to be good. But even that makes it more exciting for the fans, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just like it's always fun to watch your team score in anything. As opposed to not scoring. So, 25-2 was fun. It got old quickly because it was 11 runs in the first inning, but I watched a high school game last night that was 1-1 in the 6th. And so a whole different thing with like 5 total hits in the game. So it was a whole different, viewing experience than when the offense is clicking. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, I went and saw a spring training game. Okay, this past Monday, I went to the Astros and the Tigers, and the 7th inning, it was 1-0. The Astros were being no hit, and the Tigers had 3 hits, and I enjoyed every bit of that game. Offense, it's fun. It puts butts in the seats and things like that. But for hardcores and situations like that, I enjoy stuff like that.
That's right.
So, Coach Yo, changing the subject, she's a win away from wrapping up the number 3 seed in the SEC tournament. This is important. Everybody needs to pay attention. This number 3 seed, we need to root for Coach Yo and the ladies to win one more game, because if you can win that game, that puts you in the bracket opposite of South Carolina. Nobody wants any part of South Carolina in this tournament. You would much rather play LSU than South Carolina. So that's the difference between being number 3 and number 4, is a semifinal game against South Carolina or a final game. So that's why this is important. Ole Miss has Kentucky, and they have Arkansas on the agenda. I think Ole Miss can win both of those games. Those are 2 teams that are in the lower part of the standings, but Ole Miss at least needs to get one.
Yeah, and what was it, Missouri they beat the other night?
Mm-hmm. That was a felony what Coach O did. Yeah.
And so good to see. And like you said, I don't know that people really want LSU all that much, but they definitely don't want South Carolina. Yeah. So if you can get that 3 seed, and like you said, or somebody said it, you're also finishing ahead of Tennessee. And, for so long of our lifetime anyway, Tennessee was such a power in women's basketball. And so to be that 3 seed, to be ahead of Tennessee, to not have to play South Carolina unless you get to the finals and they get there. So it's always better that way. So I'm excited for them, for the Lady Rebels, for Coach Yo, hoping they can wrap that up. And like you said, maybe win both the games and leave it absolutely no question and doubt about anything, and improve their overall standing and thing as they move in not only to the SEC tournament but the Big Dance as well.
Yeah, I think somebody said they've won like 10 or 11, I think 10 conference games this year, and they've done that 3 straight years, and that's never been done in the history of the Lady Rebs. And like Van Chancellor and Peggy Gillum and all of them, you know, even up forward to Carol Ross and Armini Price, there's some good teams. Lady Rebels basketball in the 80s and early 90s, that was a thing. So to hear that this team won 10 SEC games for the first time in school history, there's a little bit of meaning behind that.
There is. And didn't I see where we've never won 12 in a season?
That sounds about right, honestly.
So if they win both, that would be 12, right?
They can do the football thing of doing what's never been done. And that is cool. Coach Yo has a really good product she's put together on the basketball floor at Ole Miss, and with her and Chris Beard and heck, Mike Bianco winning a national title, with Lane Kiffin on football. I can't remember the major coaches at Ole Miss being in better shape than it is right now.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, I think you even brought up Keith Carter. You're going to have him on, I believe, here shortly. And so what a job he's done. What a job he's done. And so I think he came on at a good time, and I think he's done very well. And, you know, I think I heard you talking about taking risk and hiring people. And, man, it's always tough. You always wonder, are you making the right decision? And, man, he has really hit on his hires. And so it's been really, really, really good to see, and an exciting time for Ole Miss fans in general. Pick your sport, or all sports.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. After it's over, he's like, "What? Hiring's easy. Hiring's a piece of cake. Nobody can hire the right guy, and everybody he hires turns to gold." It's amazing, because he even had a hand in the Coach O hiring back in the day when old Bjork was hiring coaches. Which, by the way, is there anybody that's failing upwards more than Ross Bjork? That blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, and. That I do say a little bit of the good there, because Bjork did some things that I found some wonder about, you know, at the time. But it's the way college athletics have moved, and, you know, pricing and tickets and all those sorts of things now with the collective and all that. So it's been good to see. And again, like you said, hindsight, he can look back and go, yeah, this hiring thing's easy, but it really isn't. And so he's made some now that we look back, good choices. And again, just an exciting fan to be a hotty toddy, you know, Rebel Nation person.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Josh Guest, thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll talk to you next week, buddy.
All right, see you, Stephen. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.